So yeah, I think this slide already, Stefan introduced the WWEA already. I can just only uh, push a little bit more. I know most of you already know the WWEA and what we are doing, but we really need support from the membership to continue this work. Uh, just to remind you, since 2012 we have a small win section, and you will get special fees as the small win members. Uh, we also have a platform, a dedicated website for small win, uh, and we also produce some reports and statistics, as you are probably aware. Then, let's just change the slide. Yeah. So I just wanted to very briefly introduce the topic of this webinar. I'm not gonna talk about the markets because we will leave that for future webinars. Today we are only talking about what have been and what are now the main drivers for small win in the most of the markets worldwide. So uh, naturally, incentives has been the main driver of the market. When they exist, markets explode, they boom. When they disappear, the markets somehow become depressed. We thought probably that they were going to be there all the time in the future because they were good and they met the expectation of those who decided on them and approved them. Maybe we wrongly paid full attention to other issues at that moment in the previous years, such as certification, for example, instead of protecting those good policies that existed. Uh, so I will just put some slides, some numbers here, some charts about what is the market for small wind. Uh, More important than the total number is how it is changing year to year, the number of installations of small wind turbines. When you see this chart, everything seems to be more or less stable, with a small decrease in the number of installations in the last year, 2018, compared to the previous year, 2017. And normally, when we are dealing with statistics for big wind, we only refer to the installed capacity. But for small wind, the ranges in terms of capacity of the turbines is much wider, so we need to also refer to the number of units. And this is important because depending on how the incentives are designed, uh, just a second that somebody's telling me there's an issue here, technical issue. Yeah, let me see if it works like this better. Yeah, okay. Then when you, so it's useful to compare also in terms of units because sometimes the incentives, the policies are designed in a way that they tend to uh, give some preference, or maybe people are more interested in installing bigger turbines than smaller. So then you will have less units but more capacity. So when we see the charts, when we see the number of the installed capacity of small wind turbines every year, in this chart you see, for example, in 2017, even though that the number of units didn't increase so much compared to the 2016, you see here that the capacity increased a lot. That was because in Italy the feed-in tariff uh, was more, let's say, beneficial for turbines over 6 kilowatt. So most of the turbines installed in Italy were much bigger than in other countries. So we see the number of units didn't increase too much, but in terms of capacity, yes. So that will probably happen in 2019 because of Japan. Japan, they have a feed-in tariff, which have some were good for machines around 20 kilowatt. So then, compared to the rest of the country, especially in China, which the turbines, where the turbines are usually is very small, then we will see in this chart like a big increase in terms of capacity, but not in units. So I'm just telling this just to somehow show that when you talk about small wind and you want to compare markets, you need to have if you want to get some data, you need to have both things: the installation capacity, the units, and which are the policies in every country, because they change from one country to the other, and then the numbers they tend to be very different from one country to other. So it is important to have all this on hand when you try to compare markets. So if you see, for example, here installations by country, China they usually install very small machines compared, for example, to US or Italy. So when you talk about units, then of course China's will dominate the market, and you will see countries like Italy, which were very good markets in the previous years with very small number of units. When you see the in terms of capacity, you can see here that it's more or less, let's say, equal here. Besides of China, of course. You see, U.S. and Italy is number three with 186 megas. So you can see here how policies are, defining the size of the machines installed in every country, and not only that the market booms, but which kind of turbines are fit for this country or for this market. So it's always important to have this policy, which are the incentives in every country to know which markets are better or worse. So just I will exclude China because China is mainly dominated by local manufacturers. But just to talk a little bit about policies in some active markets, Japan, they have feed-in tariff still. They have a very good feed-in tariff. They reduce it, but still many countries will like to have 15.9 euro cents per kilowatt hour for small machines. It has been the priority for US and Chinese manufacturers over the last years. Uh, Italy, they had, as I mentioned, very good feed tariff for some turbines. As you can see here, the range was between 20 and 60 kilowatt, make that most of the people install 60 kilowatt machines and then 200 kilowatt machines. That's why the install capacity grew a lot during the last years. Unfortunately, this feed tariff is over. They have a new regulation, which I don't understand very well. I hope in the future webinars we will have an expert from Italy to tell us what is it about and how it has been working. But it seems to be more or less the same. It's a kind of feed-in tariff. You have to compete in this case now with solar PV, and it's by ranking. So you don't have to go to auctions, but there is some bureaucracy involved there that I don't fully understand. Uh, so as I mentioned, hopefully we have in the next webinar somebody from Italy explaining this. But the feed-in tariff is 15 euro cents per kilowatt hour. This is just approved last year, so let's see what is happening. So some what I call sleeping markets is a market that used to be strong at some point with feed-in tariffs or net metering, and now they're kind of sleeping or they're very small. US, we have Mike Berwick talking about the US, but then we have some European countries like Denmark, Spain, and Germany. I put it there because these are markets you have to pay attention because with something small changes in terms of regulation or policies or like something like building permits in Germany, if there is with a small change, it can be that these markets are growing. Also, electricity retail prices of electricity in these countries are going up every year. So at some point, it will be with the right regulations there, it will be possible for many people beneficial to go off grid even. So these are markets that I should put attention in terms of policies. Uh, Something can change there, and then they will continue growing. Finally, I just wanted to show that in our small wind platform, we have a policy section where we are going to put all, we will try to keep this table of feed-in tariff, net meterings, and policies for small wind in every country. We will try to keep it updated because and try to explain as much as we can so we make it easy for you to know where to go if you are a manufacturer or if you want to install. I mean, try to have this information on hand because for small wind it has been very important the policies. So that's what I wanted to introduce or to tell you today. It's just a brief introduction. So I will now move to Mike Berge, from CEO and founder of Berge Wind Power.